we're going to start out tonight simple, as we usually do, before we get into bigger stuff. So either for everybody here tonight, either the favorite scene or favorite line. So just to give them a chance to think. Mine was Jesus saying, if we're going to have a long discussion about this, every time I suggest we're going to do something, this is going to be really annoying. Because any of us who feel like we've been called by Jesus are always arguing with him about the particulars of the call. I don't want to do that. I'll do this, Lord, or this or this. But okay, we're really going to go that way? Come on. I don't want to go that way. That way it's dangerous, or that way it's not right, or that's it. And I'm sure Jesus has wanted to say to me numerous times, if you're going to keep asking those kind of questions every time I suggest you do something, this is going to be really annoying.
Annoying. That's so true.
So it's a fun line. It's not in Scripture, but it's a fun line. Do you have one, Chris?
Yes, I do. Mine was where Jesus shows up to heal Eden's mother. And Eden says, I wasn't expecting you. And Jesus says, most people aren't.
Yeah.
And isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
When you least expect it, there it is. So that was my favorite. That whole scene with Peter's mother was very sweet and showing and special, and how she got up and started bossing everybody around.
Yeah.
Goat cheese.
Well, that's what it says in Scripture. She immediately got up and began to wait on them.
Yep.
And they did a great job portraying that.
Yeah. And
Why would she immediately get up and wait on
The
them?
other part of that was where Andrew and Peter were getting ready to go sell their fishing nets, and Jesus told them to go into her room, and Andrew instantly drops his stuff and goes into her room, and Peter's like, nah, 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 like Peter is. So that was kind of a telling part of their personalities too.
But I thought it was interesting too. They were, and I didn't catch it the first time through, but the selling of the nets and like how, obviously they were following Jesus, but they were really all in at that point because that's their livelihood, and there's no going back.
Right.
Right, you can't fish anymore
Yeah.
if you don't have the nets.
Yeah.
Good point. Well, there's so many favorite lines for me, but since it's the last night, and since it's the name of the show, I think I'm gonna pick the beginning when Jacob said, "We didn't choose him; he chose us."
You took mine!
Oh, well, who knew? We should have practiced.
And look at us, just really
I know.
quick.
Well, let's talk about it together. But it's just
Painful.
it is, and everybody's heard that. It's not like anything new, but really this whole series, and and we all think that it's our choice. It's like my choice to be here tonight, or my choice to do whatever I do with my life.
Oh.
And really, it's not. It's really he's got his hand in everything that I do.
Yep.
If it's his work. So that was my favorite line. Now I don't know what you're gonna do.
That's great. Yeah, what are you gonna do now that you stole your...
Stolen. Pick a different.
That's what I get for being nice and letting people
Well, let
go.
Doug go.
You want me to go?
Go, Doug, yeah.
Okay, so I like when Jesus says to Simon's wife, you saw in Simon what I see in Simon, what you saw in her first. And I relate to that because I really love the connection between Simon and his wife, and I feel like in many ways it reminds me of my sweetheart and our relationship. And some, in many ways, in terms of her, Simon's wife, her first name is
Eden.
Her surrendering him to Jesus, and in some ways that has happened in our life. Yeah. So I
Nice.
really related to that, resonated with me.
So mine's sad. If I have to pick a different one. Mary.
Oh, no.
Nicodemus.
Mm.
So sad.
Yeah, that was very touching. That was a touching scene.
Too much to give up. And even the wife who's like, I really like our life. Don't forget I really like our life. He's like, I like our life too.
Yeah, he finally just kind of surrendered to her.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then the money. Maybe this will help.
All
Right.
Yeah.
But then the crying. And I watched this earlier today with my son Johnny, who's 8, and he said, why is he crying? And I said, he wants to follow Jesus, but he can't let go. And I just thought I'm telling this little twerp this, and I'm like, and it's hard, John. Sometimes it's hard to let go of what we think we want and need. To trust that God has so much more. And Jesus' line was, and you came so close.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And he's a good, good man
Mhm.
who came so close. And I mean, who knows the end of the story? I mean, we don't know.
Do we know? So,
Yeah, and even the day before, when they were talking about they have one day, he and his wife, they have one day left.
it's
And you
like,
could see it on his face, the agony. Like at that point, I think it was still kind of like, what am I gonna do?
Mhm.
Yeah, I
And
have to
we've
make
all
a
been in kind of
I have
spots
to
like
make a
that where-
decision.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, she did say early, I think it was when they were getting ready, she was getting him ready, like combing his beard and stuff. And,
We just want to say that's what Ann does for Doug.
Yeah, see?
Every
It would not
Sunday.
be so trimmed.
That's
and
right.
we're for-
That's
She gets
right.
him dressed.
Yes.
That's
before
probably
he
as
comes
close
to
to-
church.
as close to
and-
kinky as anything comes.
Yeah, and then she makes him go through his homilies
Yeah,
before
yeah.
he can come to church. And
But they were talking about God, and she said he finds us and comforts us. And I thought that's pretty touching.
And then he goes on to say, well, because it was something about
On the rocky
Hagar
roads.
and the path, the
Or
difficult path
Does he
was,
lead
right.
us?
to
to
those paths.
Mhm.
to the difficult
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was wise.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So one thing I really thought about strongly was the generation gap. Like, so it would be pretty or a lot easier to be young, like Jesus and all the guys, but they weren't really established. Look at this guy; he was like the leader and the
Mm.
brains of it all. For him to step back, because a man like that is known for what he is and what he's done. These guys were like, well, I could be more maybe, and so that would be really hard to leave after you're in the autumn of your life, and I mean they had grandchildren, and to just give up, and plus take this woman who's counts on you. That's why the parallels between that wife and Eden were so strong, because she was all about her husband going, and thank you for following him. But Nicodemus's wife was, I need you here, and we're gonna, retire and do the grandkids, and so he had to choose. And I think it'd be easier if you were young to change your life paths like that.
Great point.
That's
Right.
really good
Yeah.
insight.
Yeah.
Spoken from the grandma. 65.
Charlie.
That isn't going to
Stay
change.
Who she
It
keeps
is.
getting called to leave, and no, I gotta stay with the grandkids.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was. Plus, the third marriage thing was the woman at the well, and she was looked at as a possession by that
No.
Yeah.
by that by
Good.
that husband that she wanted to get the divorce from, but and so many aspects of women in this tonight.
There
It's
were.
just like the
There were.
broken down, her self-esteem was so shot that she couldn't even go on. And so we had all three strengths of women, I think, shown tonight, or lacks of strength. So
And men.
yeah, and men.
Because I looked at it too, like the happy guy that she went in to say, "Can I get a divorce, please?" Just kidding, not happy, grouchy guy. Very like, and she's basically saying, "I got to get out of this," and he's like, "You're my possession, and I don't part with my possessions easily,
And women don't divorce men, men divorce women.
and I'd rather be approached by a robber or a thief or a murderer, or I don't remember what he said, but and then he
Yeah,
throws it into the
yeah.
fire." Okay, so let's compare a man of that culture, which he had every right to say all of that, it's the truth,
Mhm.
it's the truth of that culture, to Jesus' approach to that woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Holy buckets!
Yeah.
And really, it's not that different, like the whole man and woman in our culture today, how oftentimes people approach each other compared to really a very beautiful and life-giving and romantic approach of what God desires.
I thought it was funny too that I thought about this afterwards was, what really sold the Samaritan woman on Jesus was when he started telling her about her past life.
Hmm?
When he said, your first husband did this to you, and his name was whatever it was, and
The
your
oranges.
and then she starts to go, and then your second
I
husband
didn't know
did this
that.
to you,
Yeah.
and she's like, whoa, now wait a minute, this cat's got something going on here. And then
she knew he identified that second husband was
The good one.
It was so he was a very good man, and
Mhm.
and she didn't feel
Worthy.
worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
worthy.
But that's when she really bought into
Yes.
the Messiah, was when he knew
That
her.
the Lord knows all of that.
Yeah,
And
Right.
still says, "Do you know why I came to Samaria?
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Yep.
For you."
You-
And they're all like, "We're not cutting through Samaria. Hell no.
Yeah, right.
Samaria, are you nuts?"
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, a parallel to our lives. We were like, "I ain't cutting through Samaria.
Yeah, that
No.
doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't even make sense."
And in that one scene where they're packing stuff up and Peter says, you know what's in my head anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jesus says, that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
Isn't that how we
I don't
are?
want to get into this with you, Peter, right now.
Mm.
Yeah, great lines.
How about from our many viewers?
One of our millions of viewers, the question that Father asked was, what was it? When Jesus
You felt like you've been seen.
One here says, several times, there's something so calming and peaceful when Jesus shares our burdens. Been given such a gift. And another one here says, funny story, I just posted on Facebook. A time that I knew God was seeing the anxiety and pain in my family, the pain that my family was feeling, and left us a message.
Hmm.
So, that happens too.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely does.
But I think there's a temptation among most of us to think God's too busy for me. There are millions and millions of people in the world. Everybody's praying. And so, come on. I'm just one little voice in the midst of billions of voices, all crying out to you, God, in need. And so, you don't see me. But clearly what Jesus is teaching and what is portrayed in The Chosen in this series is, no, he sees you. He says that to Eden, he says that to the woman at the well. It's Hagar who, in the very beginning of the Old Testament series, Hagar is the slave woman who flees because she's being treated badly. And so she's feeling horrible out sitting on the side of the road and thinking her son is going to die there in the desert. And no, that's what they were relating. What Nicodemus was relating to his wife, that story of Hagar. No, God sees her. Even like she's a nothing, nobody slave on the side of the road who, what reason does she have to live? But no, God sees you. And I think it's good spiritually for us to be reminded of that. No, the God we have, the God who has chosen us, sees you. God is seeing you. So when we go to God in prayer, it's good to imagine God seeing you to help us remember that. Okay, God is actually sees me right now when I'm turning to God in prayer. So when I was a little kid, there at the church that we went to, there was a big eye in the ceiling. That was an
yeah.
eyeball.
Yeah.
And as a little kid, we would go in there and I'd just think that eyeball staring at me. That's God looking down. That's his eyeball. Really.
Better be good
So
in here.
behave in church.
That's right.
I remember reading a long time ago, but it was the idea that you're the apple of God's eye. I just remember thinking, oh my God, there's so many people. Come on now. You're the apple of his eye. Like, and so when he sees you, it's not like this,
Right.
I saw that.
Right.
It's this, I mean, you think about the person who you find most endearing and just a delight, and you look at them and you say, I see. And so often, even like the flaws and the little stupid things that person does, you say, I saw that too, and I'm trying really hard not to laugh or to. It's this delight in us. And it's so hard to take that in, but even in prayer, to start off with this is a God who smiles, that I'm responding to the fact he chose me. And even my desire to pray is already God drawing me. It's not about my great anything. Yeah, that's really.
The best one-on-one friend we have.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I mean,
No offense, Kath.
I can tell, yeah, no offense, Kath. I can tell you anything. Anything. Even if it's something that I'm not proud of, and I know you're gonna help me get through it. That kind of keeps me from thinking that, he doesn't hear me because I'm one of 800 billion people that are talking to him. Just a very good friend that I can tell anything to, and think about anything, and talk to about anything. Literally anything. Starting to sound like a televangelist.
Oh, that reminds me of
I
a joke.
Yeah. Some people don't get that.
It's true, though. It's just
Pig and the
true.
cow.
It is true.
They didn't get it.
Dave and Natalie didn't get it. It's just for another year, folks.
I also liked, and this kind of switching gears a little bit, but when I don't know where they're at, but they're on their journey, and he's with his disciples, and I think it might be after the part where you thought it was a good line, where he said, if we're gonna have to go through these 20 questions every time, this is gonna get really old.
Yeah.
But he says, follow me. And he says it very directly, and It's obviously not the first time they've heard him say it, but he says it again. And I think the thing that I took from that is, like, God is always inviting, and we do need that invitation. Like, it's not once and we choose to follow Jesus. It is constant.
Yeah.
And he's constantly inviting, and we need that, because otherwise we get, or at least I do, you get like, oh, maybe I'm going down the wrong road. So that gentle reminder, follow me.
Mhm.
I really like that.
Or even our Matthew, where he's talking to Gaius, who's now has a soft heart.
Yeah,
Gaius is really softened up. But he says, "You're a German. You guys surrendered." And Gaius is like, and he said, "That's what I did too.
Mhm.
Surrender.
Yeah, that was good.
That's what I did too."
And then I think it kind of makes sense to Gaius too. It's like
Yes.
he wouldn't say it out loud or
Right.
acknowledge that, but he's kind of like, "Damn, he's right."
Shucks.
Yeah.
That's it.
What was the line? There's some people who were mildly fond of him, or what?
Yeah,
was
you
Right.
can't quite say, "I love your son, Matt. He's a nice guy."
I
No,
know.
it's a.
He says, "I know people that are mildly."
Yes, he doesn't even say yeah.
Right.
All of us Germans
It's
go.
a good German response.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yep, I know somebody who likes you.
Yeah. You're not all bad.
I think it's funny how, there were lots of Jesus had lots of innuendos in this because of he hasn't, started his mission yet. Like the line I talked about, where most people, I wasn't expecting you, most people aren't.
Yeah.
And then the line where he says, I have food to eat, but you don't know about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So he's not, he's not just like this yet.
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind of setting us all, setting everybody up for what this is all going to be about. So I'm looking forward to next year, next season.
Yeah, next season.
I love too I think it was dinner at Matthew's, and they mentioned Lilith, and she said, my name's Mary, or something like that.
Mhm.
And Jesus says, "That was always your name."
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's lovely.
Uh-huh.
Like Jesus has always known our name.
I think too, in terms of his, the emphasis, and it's been alluded to previously, the emphasis for Simon on his distinct roles, vocations in his life. Like, I know you're worried about Eden and her mom, and because you have a family and you have responsibilities there. And it was, Jesus is never going to invite us to something that is counter to that, right? It's always going to be something that,
Your primary vocation, it will honor that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll enhance that.
Yeah.
So that really struck me and
Mhm.
resonated with me.
I like that they're dealing with Eden, with Peter's wife, because she's in Scripture, but she just disappears.
Mhm.
Where the series is at least letting us get to know her a little bit, and this is one possibility of what may have happened here, that she was his companion in spirit, and certainly Jesus noticed her and cared for her. Yeah, I think that's really
I
important.
Yeah, because she could have gone the
You.
other way in
Yeah.
a second. I mean,
Right.
Oh, and it happens.
You're taking my husband and,
Yeah.
Yeah, where are they going?
Yeah,
What?
really.
You're doing what?
Leave me with the sick mom.
Right. Mhm.
When he says to her, "I see you."
Yep.
Again, that's just such a important thing to think about, Jesus seeing somebody we've never really thought about too much. You think about Peter a lot, but
Right.
I think that's just really beautiful.
And she has a very prominent role in this, in this series, which I think is
Mhm.
fantastic.
Mhm.
then the line about, I think it's in Luke, the line about the doctor doesn't heal people that are,
Right.
Doesn't
Yeah.
aren't sick.
contradict.
Yeah, so the critique of the Pharisees
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
door,
Right.
why you, and that's right from Scripture, you know,
Yeah.
they were critiquing him for hanging around with sinners
Right.
and tax collectors
Right.
and in bars and places where
And I mean, what a neglect.
religious leaders shouldn't be.
Right,
You know,
right.
Oh.
Hey, where the sick people are.
What an eclectic group.
Yeah.
With their tax
Well, and that's
collector
what-
and their red quarter and
Yeah.
The group, and that's what, and I don't know, is there anything in the Bible that talks about Matthew being anything but a tax collector, that he was, what we said, maybe on the autistic spectrum, because that's obviously what they're trying to portray.
Yeah.
Right, right.
But Joe that was here with me the other time, he said it exactly the way I wished I had said it, and he said, Matthew is someone who processes information differently, and that's exactly what. So he's processing it in a different way than Peter, than everybody. So the group is what makes it, and it just shows that God just takes everybody and where we are and what we. If I
Yep.
mean, if that's a disability, then
So be it.
you want, yeah, or so.
Right.
But it's just how you process, how Matthew processes the information, is what makes him Matthew, and why he was chosen. Because we have to have everybody in the mix.
Yep. Because
And then-
everybody is in the mix.
Yeah,
when
he
it
didn't.
comes to
That's
Jesus.
right. When it comes, yeah. So there will be some people that he'll be able to relate to when it comes his time to go on his own and write a book in the.
Right.
No, just a little piece. So anyway.
I like that he had the map too. Well, we got
Yeah.
it. We
Yeah.
got,
Oh, yeah.
we got another mile, and then we got to take a left.
3.2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's dealing with the.
Yeah. If he just.
Well, and he
I don't know
also
where to go.
points out the hypocrisy of the Pharisees. I think, at least, in when he, because they say, you know, this group of people or these, the tax collector, and they have to atone for their sinfulness. And Matthew says, I'm not even allowed in the
In the
synagogue,
temple, yeah.
in the
Right.
temple. So there's no way. I mean, it's like,
That could
it's not even
Doesn't make
possible.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could not do it.
Yeah.
I got a kick too out of at Matthew's party again. They're at the door, and all the disciples and the people in the background are like, they're getting ready to say they're trying to defend Jesus. They're trying to, I don't know, support him somehow. Jesus doesn't
Protect
really
him.
need that.
No.
And yet they're doing their own little things to chime in. I think there's truth in that for us too. Like Jesus can do.
Right. Doesn't need
He
us.
really
Right.
doesn't
Doesn't
need
need us.
Peter to pipe in with a
Yeah.
rah, rah. And yet we tend to try to contribute somehow, and
We're gonna
God
fight with
uses
that
it.
atheist. Jesus really was real.
Yeah, right.
Thinking Jesus can convince him.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
our-
yeah. Let's not get
Right.
too worked up
No,
about that.
Just be who you are.
Right,
You know, it's-
right.
And I'll tell you too, I thought one of the scenes that I really thought about was, and it hasn't hit all of us, I don't think, like this, but how happy and how her heart just exploded, the Sumerian woman
Mhm.
dancing away,
I'm gonna
Mhm.
tell
clicking her
everybody.
heels.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's such a, wow.
Yeah, she's been rejected by
Wow.
everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not the Messiah.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because, yeah, she was in a very
Oh,
dark
just
place.
Yes, and,
Yeah.
and just complete euphoric, just like a
Yeah.
That is
cement
good.
truck had been lifted off of her
Yeah.
chest. You know, her happiness was really, really touching. I
We
thought.
talked about this before in one of the other episodes, I think, but it was, I was one way,
Mm.
and then I met Jesus,
And,
and now I'm this way.
Mhm.
I think about that when you know, that example of her.
I think of Jacob with the broken hip. Because his face in this is just like, and it's just got this glow about him as he's talking to the man. And he's talking about his God, who the guy's like, That
He's
sounds like
invisible and he broke your hip.
And one time,
yeah, it sounds like a great choice. And he says,
I didn't choose. I didn't choose.
I didn't choose him, he chose me.
Right,
Yeah.
He chose us.
right.
And his face says it already.
Mhm.
The calm about the water, the
Right.
calm about the,
You'll never find water here.
Yeah,
yeah, we're
the
sojourners.
water here, it's a
Right.
mountain.
We're sojourners. We're
Mhm.
just traveling through. We're not going to be here forever. When he said that word, even, it's a reminder, I think. We're just traveling
Yeah,
through.
that makes,
Yep.
yeah.
We're just traveling through, guys.
Aren't we all just sojourners?
We
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Right.
We forget that. We think we're so attached to all this stupid nothing
The
stuff.
world needs me. I gotta be
This
here.
is important.
No. Yeah.
No, we're just traveling through.
Yep. The only critique I've had of all of these would be a little bit in today's episode, and it's simply because, and Ann, you and I talked about this earlier, a different version of the woman at the well story, because both, you know, as they did in Chosen, they take some liberties with how that scene would have played itself out. And John Shea, who's written a number of books, has a version of it where, in his version, Jesus and the woman just sit in quiet for a while at the well. And because Jesus has said, you know, I offer you living water, and she does her back and forth, and then they just sit there. But Jesus is just sitting right next to her, and then she begins to reveal herself to him. Because here's this man who's just sitting there listening. And so she starts telling her story. And all the while, when she finishes a little part of the story, Jesus says, I know. And she's crying, revealing her story to him. And then what Shea has Jesus do is tell her story back to her with Jesus' view of her life story. So she's hearing back her story from his view. And all the while she spoke, she cried, and he rubbed her neck where the yoke cut in. So I think that just seems so much more like our own experience of you talk to somebody about your own experience, and then they reveal back to you a different view of you, and maybe how God views you. So this, of course, they didn't have as much time. That kind of whole thing would have taken a while to do. But I just think that's a lovely way of, we tell Jesus our story, and then he says, hey,
I know.
I know. But it's not how I see it. Let me tell you about you. Yeah. Really? Yep.
Yeah, really.
Really, that's what I think about you.
Yeah, really.
Which kind of reminds me of the last episode where, I can't remember, who was it? I failed miserably. And Jesus says, yeah, but if you hadn't, you wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
It's like how God uses.
Yep.
So what we could do, and I will do, tomorrow I'll send out that version to everybody
The Shea version. Yeah.
through email or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been too fun.
Our candles are going out, guys.
They are. It must be the end of the season.
Oh.
That's ironic. It's not a fireside chat anymore.
No, we got two.
Say what?
Two
We still have
fires
two.
are burning yet.
Yeah.
Two are gone out.
we have to do a song or something? Yeah.
Mhm.
Anything else?
Any last comments from their millions of viewers?
Standing ovation.
Oh, hey.
Oh, my
They're
word.
standing?
There I,
Must
Kathy.
be Kathy
I
Beeler.
think all of Omaha, I think all of Omaha is standing there
Yeah,
louding
they
right
are.
now.
Well, I've enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for inviting me, you guys.
Mhm.
Thanks for being here.
Yep, it's been wonderful.
It has been.
Thanks to everybody for joining us, for being our companions along the way, for joining us and getting to know Jesus and His chosen a little bit better. We have a song for you tonight. Anne, you want to tell about the song?
So this is a little silly, but we decided as we were watching it, we just felt like it related, and Natalie said do it. So if Natalie says do
Oh.
it, we do
We
it.
listen.
It's called The God Who Sees, and we just think it relates to really the whole season so far, and in particular tonight's episode. And so to close, just pray with this song. It is a little longer, it's like 12 minutes long. Thanks a lot, Natalie, for a 12-minute song, but it's beautiful. So just pay attention and just sit with it.
And we hope you enjoy it. And
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks to my guests, too. Thanks, Mary, for joining us.
Thanks
For a couple
for having
times.
me. It's my
Thanks,
pleasure.
Chris and Ann and
Get
Doug
to do
for-
this.
Yep, been wonderful.
Thank you.